bigger and better. Your additional income streams can be active, passive, or a combination of the two. Some may pay you for doing something that you love, active, while others can provide income for you without having to do much of anything at all, passive. Here are multiple streams of income opportunities: selling information in hard book format, selling information in the form of downloadable ebooks, making money from referral opportunities, training classes, consulting opportunities, dealership opportunities, design opportunities, manufacturing opportunities, investment opportunities. The list is definitely not exhaustible. To create wealth, you must make investment that will create dependable streams of income flows, independent of your main source of income. The time to act is now. Begin implementing this practice, and before you know it, within months, you can be enjoying the benefits and the financial security and freedom that comes from having multiple streams of income.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the U-Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News mobile app, your access to real-time information.
Imagine a station where you access information. Think of a station that creates awareness for national development. Imagine a station that prepares you for a bright and greater future. A station for all ages. Documentaries, classroom and television, events coverage, children's programs and variety shows. Always stay tuned to NTA Knowledge on the StarTimes platform.
President Buhari restates commitment towards political stability in Benin Republic.
Vice President Oshibajo assures French business community of better deal in Nigeria.
It's a two-way relationship. France, Nigeria, Nigeria, France.
President Buhari appoints new NNPC management.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss AFCON 2019 expectations, plus improving health indices of D8 countries.
All right, it's Friday. Good day to discuss sports. And of course, in a few hours from now, the 32nd edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, known as AFCON, will kick off today in Egypt. Now, the Biennial International Men's Football Championship is organized by the Confederation of African Football, CAF.
That's right, Claire. And the tournament was first held in 1957, and since 1968, it's been held every 2 years. Now, as the stage is set for the 32nd edition of the tournament, sports lovers are obviously going to be delighted watching some 52 matches that will be played by 24 countries.
Of course, Kingsley, and as you know, Egypt is host for this year's edition of the tournament. And it was hosted in 2006. That was the last time. And it was also the year that it won the tournament.
Well, one of the striking things about the host, that's to say Egypt, is that they have been the most successful in terms of victories at the CAF tournament, that's to say the AFCON. It's won it 7 times. And, of course, that title haul is unrivaled, as we said, anywhere else. The closest to them, of course, is Cameroon, and Nigeria, of course, has also won it 3 times.
Yes, and in those times, in 1980, 1994, 2013, and of course, we lost as a finalist in 1984. 1988, I can't remember, Kingsley.
Yeah, 2000.
And 2000.
At the National Stadium in Lagos. And of course, we didn't participate in 1996. Okay. 1996, when we were defending champions. And this was on account of political differences that the regime of General Sani Abacha had with South Africa, following some political issues in the Niger Delta area. So Nigeria didn't participate in 1996.
And what happened in 2012? I understand we didn't also. Okay, we didn't qualify.
Yeah, we didn't qualify. For 2012. That's what played out. But of course, it was a very sweet victory for Nigeria. Excuse me, in 1980, as you said, which was the first time we won the trophy. That was at the beginning of the Second Republic with President Alhaji Shehu Shagari in office at the time. And of course, you recall that Segun Odegbami,
mathematical Segun Odegbami,
yes,
I can't forget.
He was, of course, one of the key goal scorers in the final against Algeria at the National Stadium in Lagos. Of course, for the first time this year, we have seen an expansion of the number of participating teams, moving up from 16 to now 24. So the expectations are quite high as to how competitive, the tournament would be in terms of the numbers of persons who are there. And by the way, do not forget that the Nigerian Television Authority, along, of course, with Hot Sports, will be beaming to you live all the 52 matches of the tournament that will be kicking off today.
And I hear there is a comedy component of this partnership.
Absolutely.
That will be NTA will be bringing to bear on our coverage of the tournament. And of course, we also do have a second topic, which is fundamental. You have to be in good health, of course. You have to be alive to be able to play any kind of football. And today on the program, we will also be looking at a different approach. It's called an innovative approach. It's a collaboration between some countries, of course, known as the D8 countries, that have come together to improve their health indices and social protection programs. So this will also form part of our program today on Good Morning Nigeria. So as always, it is our pleasure on behalf of all of us here to welcome you to the last edition for this week. I am Claire Adilabu Abdul Razak.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Claire to also welcome you to the program. As always, we are live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're right here at the Abuja headquarters studios. And of course, on the course of the program, we will bring you our regular complimentary segments and this newspaper review, business, and others. In the meantime, let's take the morning news. And here is Abdul Malik Adio, our other colleague. Hi, Abdul Malik. Good morning.
Good morning, Kingsley, and good morning, Claire. Quite a chilly morning. President Muhammadu Buhari has restated Nigerians' unwavering commitment towards supporting genuine effort at re-establishing political stability in the neighboring Benin Republic. This was when he granted audience to the Beninois lead president, Beatrice Talon. Members of the National Economic Council have been tasked to fashion out effective strategies towards lifting the less privileged Nigerians out of poverty and secure the nation's future for sustainable growth and development. President Muhammadu Buhari, who threw the challenge while inaugurating the National Economic Council, said paying special attention to issues of security, education, health, and agriculture is critical towards guaranteeing a peaceful and prosperous Nigeria.
The territorial integrity of our nation while confronting the remnants of terrorists, bandits, and other criminals across the country. There must be collective and deliberate efforts by all to improve the security of lives and properties across the country. You can definitely make a difference, not just by assisting the security agencies in your respective states, but also by keenly pursuing policies and programs that forestall communal, tribal, religious, and societal conflicts.
The Nigerian economy now looks promising, and investors across the globe are seeing the country as a fertile land for investment. So none wants to be left out. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, while receiving a delegation of French business community, assures investors of a better deal from government, its agencies, and the good people of Nigeria.
For my company is to better understand all about the market, not only the consumers, but the regulation, the right people to know, to facilitate the local settlements of a potential facility, and to put a highlight on the contribution, what is possible for France to do in the dairy sector, and to contribute to the development of this sector locally in Nigeria.
Nigeria's initiative of ease of doing business is part of understanding the agencies that are involved, the processes that are involved, and the opportunities, and also to a large extent the responsibilities. It's a two-way relationship, France, Nigeria, Nigeria, France.
President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Mr. Mele Kolo Kyari as the new Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. A press release by the NNPC Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs, Ndu Gamadu, stated that President Muhammadu Buhari also appointed alongside Kyari 7 new Chief Operating Officers. Until his new appointment, Kyari, a geologist, was Group General Manager, Crude Oil Marketing Division of NNPC, and also doubled since 13th May 2018 as Nigeria's national representatives to the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed that the new GMD and the newly appointed Chief Operating Officers work with the current occupiers of the various offices till 7th July 2019 towards a smooth transition of the 8th July 2019, when the appointment will take effect to ensure a smooth transition. However, the appointment of Mr. Farouk Garba Said, Northwest, who is replacing a retiring Chief Operating Officer, is effective from 28 June 2019. Now, Office of the President of the Senate has reviewed the appointment of Festus Adebayo as Special Advisor, Media and Publicity to the President of the Senate, and decided to rescind its decision on the appointment. A statement by the Special Assistant to the Senate President on Media and Publicity, Mohammed Isa, wished Adebayo the best in his future endeavors. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved financial support for the voluntary repatriation of 4,000 Nigerian refugees who sought refuge in Cameroon during the Boko Haram crisis. This was contained in a message of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, delivered by a director in his office, Festus Dauda, at the event marking the 2019 World Refugees Day in Abuja.
We have different critical actors in this field. We have our primary partners who are the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, as UNHCR. We are partnering with the ECOWAS Commission, as you have seen. Other organizations, both nationally and internationally, to see that we bring succor to these vulnerable groups.
And the 86th National Executive Committee meeting of the People's Democratic Party has held with a core of members to hold the party's ideas supreme.
Party loyalty demands that you stick to your party at any given situation. When personal interest clashes with party interest, personal should run into that of the party. That's what real Democrats are expected to do.
This party will continue to be supreme. There's no room for any cabal in this party.
And that's the morning news. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly.
One Football Confederation, 24 teams, 6 stadiums, 4 cities, 504 African stars, 1 trophy. The Africa Cup of Nations, Egypt 2019 comes alive from June 21 with the showpiece final on July 19, 2019. Watch the 52 matches of the tournament live on Africa's biggest and largest television network, NTA, in partnership with Hot Sports. Be part of the biggest soccer fiesta in the African continent as the Super Eagles go on a bold mission to clinch the prestigious title for the 4th time to the excitement of millions of fans across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Nigeria's premier sports production and marketing group, Hot Sports, partners with the biggest, the largest, and the #1 television network in Africa, the NTA, to give Nigerians a memorable viewing experience. Boost fan support for the Super Eagles to glory in Egypt. For inquiries, please contact Abubakar on 0803-331-0175 and Felix on 0803-308-2375. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Milo Ready to Drink with Active Go is made with the natural goodness of milk, malt and cocoa with essential vitamins and minerals, so you can pack the winning energy of Milo into your lunchbox to make sure your champ is always ready to keep winning every day. Milo, the energy food drink of future champions. Milo!
NTA Television College Jos announces admissions into 2-year diploma programs in film and television production, television engineering, and broadcast journalism. The sale of forms will commence on the 13th of May and run through 30th July 2019. Admission forms can be obtained from all marketing offices, NTA state capital stations, zonal centers, or at the office of the academic secretary, NTA Television College, Rayfield, Jos.
On payment of a non-refundable fee of 7,500 naira in bank draft in favor of NTA TV College. Applicants can also obtain the forms through the NTA TV College portal at www.ntatvc.edu.nj.
Applicants are required to possess 5 credits in GCE or SSCE in relevant areas of study in not more than 2 sittings, including English and mathematics. All properly completed forms attached with photocopies of credentials must be submitted on or before 30th July 2019. For further inquiries, please visit our website at ntatvc.com or call 0803-3144-383.
NTA TV College, training you to be the best you want to be.
Registrar, Announcer.
Enjoy the best of African football as NTA, Africa's largest television network and Hot Sports, Nigeria's foremost sports production and marketing company, bring you all 52 matches of the Africa Cup of Nations, Egypt 2019 live from June 21 to July 19, 2019. Yes, all 52 games will hit your screens in crystal clear digital quality. It's your guarantee of a memorable viewing experience and a wonderful cost-effective opportunity for corporate Nigeria to reach tens of millions of Nigerians. For sponsorship and commercial support, contact Abubakar on 0803-331-0175 and Felix on 0803-308-2375. Hot Sports, masters of the game. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Preparing for that big day can be somewhat stressful. Which can lead to headaches and pain. So treat headaches and pain fast with Nurofen Express. Nurofen Express liquid capsules, when taken, starts to dissolve in 1 minute, then goes to the source of pain fast, providing quick and effective relief. Nurofen Express works at the source of pain fast.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Time to join Comfort Amodu for business news.
In its continued efforts towards increasing viability of small and medium enterprises, the federal government has begun financial support services for cooperatives in 109 local government areas through the One Local Government, One Product, OLOP initiative. Diko Umaru Rada, Director General of the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDEN, at the signing ceremony of a memorandum of understanding to that effect, disclosed that the federal government is giving as much as 5 million naira to the beneficiaries with a flexible repayment plan.
The government has given an incentive of 30% out of the total amount of money we are giving for the machinery and the working capital. They are only paying back 70% of the money, and they are paying in 18 months.
We have seen that this is a sector that has really contributed up to 50%, more than 50% to the GDP of the country. So they are very important. We should not take them for granted.
In our generation, we see that the white-collar jobs are not paying, or in most cases, they are not even available. So we have decided to take this up to some commercial level.
It is hoped that all local government areas would be covered in due course. And the market sentiment remains negative following decrease of Nigerian Stock Exchange or share index by 0.02% to close at 29,765.31 points as against 0.15% after the day's trading session. Its year-to-date returns currently stands at minus 5.30%. Market turnover closes negative, as volume moved down by 77.67% against 57.64%. Sterling Bank, Axis and WAPCO were the most active to boost market turnover, while Guarantee topped market value list. With business news, Comfort Amodu.
All right, thank you very much, Comfort Amodu, for that business package. For us next now is a newspaper review.
All right, and Bayo Atebe is right here with us in the studio, as always. Good morning, Bayo.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you for not reminding me today is Friday. Good morning. It's good morning, Nigeria.
All right, Bayo, good to see you. Let's begin this morning by taking a look at the front page of the leadership newspaper. Below the nameplate says, confusion as two speakers emerge in Bauchi. That's in greater detail on page 2. AFCON 2019 kicks off today amid security concerns. President Buhari appoints Mele Kyari as new NNPC GMD. And the lead story says, with a kicker, President Muhammadu Buhari to governors, enforce free and compulsory basic education. With 2 riders, parents to face sanctions for keeping children out of school. As NEC, that's the Economic Council, moves to prescribe a Almajiri system. Details can be found on page 4. And then lastly, at the foot of the front page of the paper, it says, again, court orders Ganduje and Emir Sanusi to maintain status quo. Details on page 11. Claire.
All right, the front page of the Nigerian Pilot is not quite comforting this morning. Has so many killings going on in different parts of the country. But let me just take a few. Kingsley has already talked about the appointment of the NNPC new GMD and Chief Operating Officers. It's also trending just a little below the the nameplate. You can find it there. Another sad story coming out from UNN. Another UNN final year student commits suicide. That story, unfortunately, is on page 11. Cholera outbreak hits Adamawa, 76 in critical condition, 1 dead. But the picture story, which of course I cannot, is very prominent there, is the picture of President Muhammadu Buhari receiving the President of Republic of Benin at the presidential villa yesterday, and trending at the bottom of the paper are the, of course, stories I talked about, or the killings going on in different parts of the country. But there's one there. EFCC arrests 27 Yahoo boys, recovers 8 exotic cars, and former Imo Governor Korocha faces 5 billion naira probe on page 6. But let's take a look at that story. Signed Electoral Amendment Bill now, group tasks President Buhari. You can find the details of that on page 5. And this is another very worrisome story. Northern youths dying of drugs. Nigeria Customs raises alarm. Fire.
Yeah, that drugs challenge has been there. The alarm was raised by the committee headed by former Governor of Lagos, Buba Marwa. He heads the committee, and it's very, very rampant, particularly in Kano and other urban cities. There's this tendency of youths taking to drugs. And the worrying one about Kano was that they found out that even domestically, some married women are also deeply involved in it. And so there's need to raise the alarm. The other sad story about the student that committed suicide in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I think this is the second in that university. There was one also at the University of Benin. And there's need for the universities themselves to ensure that there's proper counseling to students. This chap who committed suicide in UNN, it was said that he is required to have graduated since 2016. But his project has been the obstacle. And this is 2019, he has not graduated. And his mother came home to find out he had already taken just that same pesticide that was prohibited by NAFDAC just recently. And that is the consequence of lack of career counseling. This danger is even permeating to secondary schools. I remember that of recent, some parent-teacher associations at meetings, they've been cautioning parents to be less strict about scolding their children about poor performance in JAM and others, because many of them are getting depressed, and depression is becoming a reality. So there's need to check that. But talking about that, politics, Bauchi State seems to have 2 speakers, and this happened because there has been disagreement, and Daily Trust is reporting that there is a disagreement between the former governor and the current incumbent governor. Initially, the proclamation of the inauguration of the State House of Assembly was put for 17th of June. It was postponed up till 20th. Between that time, the clerk was removed and another person was appointed. The letter for proclamation indicated that the assembly will sit at 10 o'clock. At 6:45 a.m., some members of the State House of Assembly sat, comprising about 8 members of the PDP, 1 member of the APC, 1 member of NNPP, and elected a speaker and deputy speaker. By the time the other members of the APC, who are about 22 in the State House of Assembly, resumed at 10 o'clock, the assembly had already adjourned for the day. And so they also gathered and appointed their own former speaker as speaker. So you now have 2 parallel speakers. And the indication by the Daily Trust is that they were emulating what happened June 8, 2015, you remember? Where you have the minority providing the leadership of the State House of Assembly.
I was going to ask you if there was any antecedent that is given vent to all of this.
Yes, of course, that is the antecedent of 2015. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana says 100 aides of Mr. President remain in office despite the expiration of their tenure. He lists the chief of staff to the president, secretary to the government of the federation, and several aides, including the media advisors, that their time for their appointment had expired. He advised that this is promoting illegality. He said, like ministers, all political appointees made by the president during the first term, their tenure had expired May 29, 2019. And you will recall that the vice president joked during the dinner after the inauguration that the Senate president had told him that, look, from midnight of 28th of May, there was no president, there was no vice president. So I am a de facto president. And consequently, all such appointments had expired by May 28th. So there's need to right that wrong, that at least has been pointed out legally. Presently, the president has made some appointments. The Accountant General of the Federation has had his second term renewed, and also the president has appointed a new group managing director for the NNPC. And this is because the incumbent, his term, is expiring on 7 July, and the new appointment, who is Mele Kolo Kiari, is to resume on July 8. But there's a smooth transition. Between now and then, the two of them will work together. The appointed is a geologist who has also spent about 27 years within the hierarchy of the NNPC.
Yeah, Bayo, thanks a lot. The appointments by the president of the new helmsmen at the NNPC is a significant one, the way it's been couched, at least by the papers, because by yesterday, if you were of course, reading the reports and some of the online sources, that's this sensation or this expectation of a fall, of any big man. So, President sacks NNPC GMD. It's such 60 years that, it's a fraction of time that he's retiring. But it's been properly couched now that, look, his tenure is expiring and the president is appointing a replacement, without having to wait for a long time, creating all kinds of uncertainties as to what happened. You also saw what happened with regard to the reappointment of the central bank governor.
Yes.
I mean, well ahead of time, the president indicated that he was going to reappoint him, and he did that. We have also seen what has played out with the Accountant General of the Federation. Well, by the way, I think there's need for clarification. The renewal of the appointment of the Accountant General of the Federation isn't the appointment of a personal aide of the president.
No, it's a career officer.
Absolutely, yes. It's a career officer. That needs to be clarified.
NNPC, they are all career officers, but they are not political appointees.
Yes. Okay. All right, let's blueprint, just before we take the editorial. There's this, I read that story earlier from Leadership. It's a lead story in Leadership. It says, enforce free, compulsory basic education. That's also the lead story for Blueprint newspaper now. Blueprint, and it says, Amajiri must go, federal government declares. And governor's aid crime, not providing for teachers and schools. That's according to President Buhari. And urges increase in states IGR, VAT and agriculture. And NEC, that's the National Economic Council, sets up committee on boundary trade. So that's there. Then the other stories right at the foot of the front page of the Blueprint newspaper, but a number of them, of course, relating to mayhem and all kinds of crises in the different parts of the country. Extrajudicial killings caused Zamfara mayhem. Police. I stole baby to be called mother. That's according to a suspect. It is on page 8. PDP to investigate role of members in National Assembly leadership. That's attributed to the chairman of the party, Secondus. Lagos domestic staff, as I said, you have all kinds of gory tales coming out from those headlines. Bayo.
Yes, there's some news about the National Youth Service Corps. A female member of the Youth Corps who was abducted in January has been rescued. She's now to undergo medical checkup before she will be reunited with her family. However, Governor Babagana Zulum has promised that the 1,100 members of the Youth Corps posted to Borno State, adequate security will be provided for them. In April, a male copper who had traveled unofficially was also abducted between Maiduguri and Chibok. But for purposes of their security, Borno State government ensures that youth corpers are posted only to 4 local government areas out of the 27. The 4 are Jore, Bayo, Biu, and Maiduguri Metropolitan Center. This is to ensure that they are not exposed to the vagaries of insurgency. Meanwhile, the central bank is to offer loans to members of the NYSC for small and medium-scale enterprises. And this loan they will have for 7 years with a moratorium of 2 years. The whole idea is to enable them abandon the idea of white-collar job and think of self-employment. Therefore, the central bank is to use that to reduce unemployment, and it will use its entrepreneurship training to train members of the NYSC to acquire one vocational skill or the other. And this will enhance their economic survival so that they won't depend on white-collar jobs. The central bank will do the supervision and make sure that the loan granted are soft loans that will make them survive easily.
At what interest rate?
That's interesting. But there are two issues there on the COB member stories that you read. You see, by your listener, I said COB members. Because over the years, if you recall, well, in the past, more particularly, there were some linguistic purists who said that when you belong to a corps, that you are a member of that corps, you are therefore a corps member. But it was common, for us to say that I'm a copper, I'm a copper, derived from corps. So they said, no, you can only say you're a youth corps member, not that you are a copper. But I think it's now part of our lexicon to be called a copper. Yes. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If the linguistic purists are listening, we say you are a youth copper, I mean, everybody understands what you're talking about. That's one leg, yes.
That would be Nigerian English.
But it's a vogue among the youths. They want short names. You started calling Nigeria Niger. In fact, the first person to object was Professor Dora Akunyele. I said, no, it's disrespectful to call Nigeria Niger. And they told her, you are Dorothy, why are you called Dora? And she kept quiet.
That's right. The second one, which is more troubling, because it tends to point to the systemic financial inefficiencies that we're having. When you studied financial economics at O level, and a bit of it, later on, the received knowledge was that the central bank is a lender of last resort. Central bank now is to be disbursing loans to NYSC.
Last resort to enhance employment, yes.
I agree. Where are your other banks? That's why I said systemic financial challenges. We have to get back. We have to get back to get the banks to work. Whether commercial banks, micros, banks, microfinance banks, development banks. We have a development bank now, Bank of Industry, and so. The central bank cannot be everywhere. Alcohol borrowers program, you are there. This one you are now lending to. You are promising to lend to. Youth coppers, youth corps members,
No, but it's the reason is not far-fetched. The rate at the commercial banks are killing.
That's why I asked. I said,
between 9 to
12%.
And so, for the central bank, this will be soft loans, and at least the interest rate will not be suffocating for the youth coppers who are just starting afresh.
No, all right. This is a topic perhaps for a substantive conversation. The issue there could be how do you incentivize banks to lower their interest rates? Yes. Because that's what we have seen. I mean, banks they're financing trade, short-term trade that you go and import all kinds of things and then make your profit and repay them, and then they have profits on their books, and that's why the real sector has never grown in this country if you want to rely on banks.
All right, Casey and Mr. Bayo, let's move on now. And this editorial is coming from what paper now? Oh, my God. Okay, The Punch. And it says, MKO Stadium and honor well deserved. Now, what are the key issues here? Just to point out one of them, naming the Abuja National Stadium after Abiola was just a natural thing to do. But that honor can only serve its true purpose if the government can ensure that a facility completed just in time to host the 2003 AAG is restored to its pride of place. Now, I think Bayo should note that. And then here is the key issue with this editorial. It is a shame that after Nigeria spent so much to build a national stadium in Abuja, equip it with velodrome, swimming pool, tennis courts, and other state-of-the-art facilities, she has allowed the edifice to fall into urination. That's what he calls it. Now, if states like Akwa Ibom and Delta can maintain the nest of champions and the Stephen Keshi Stadium in Uyo and Asaba, then there is no reason why the stadium in Abuja should not be maintained, if for no other reason, at least to cement the honor done to MKO.
Well, this is not far-fetched in the sense that the Punch is quite punchy about this editorial, and it is recalling the objective of naming this national stadium after the late MKO Abiola. And he identified his contribution to sports as the pillar of sports in Africa, having about 3 clubs himself. The wife also had a club, and he made tremendous contributions to sport. I remember when I was at Saudi '89, when Nigeria performed so much with the Diamond Miracle. Chief MKO Abiola was the leader of the Nigerian delegation that came to bring back the silver-winning under-20 team of Nigeria. But the editorial is lamenting that the National Stadium, built in 2003, which was the state-of-the-art, with facilities including velodrome and some of which Claire had listed, have all depreciated considerably. And it's described as situational as a ruination. And it is not far-fetched. And it's posing the question, if the Akwa Ibom can maintain the nest of champions, and Delta can maintain its own stadium, why can't the National Stadium in Lagos, which hosted the All-African Games,
Yes.
and the National Stadium here, built only in 2003, have also depreciated that we cannot even host them. It cannot host major championship and athletics competition. The tartan tracks are worn out, and these two are supposed to be our lead stadiums. And therefore, our culture of poor maintenance is
facility management.
The Punch is saying quite punctually that the stadium should be upgraded as a mark of honor for the person it is named after.
Very well said, Bayo. Thank you for being with us. We do hope you enjoy your weekend.
All right, Bayo, go and have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Today is Friday.
All right. This is Good Morning Nigeria. We'll be right back in a short while. Don't go away.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
Football Confederation, 24 teams, 6 stadiums, 4 cities, 504 African stars, 1 trophy. The Africa Cup of Nations, Egypt 2019 comes alive from June 21 with the showpiece final on July 19, 2019. Watch the 52 matches of the tournament live on Africa's biggest and largest television network, NTA, in partnership with Hot Sports. Be part of the biggest soccer fiesta in the African continent as the Super Eagles go on a bold mission to clinch the prestigious title for the 4th time, to the excitement of millions of fans across the length and breadth of Nigeria. For inquiries, please contact Abubakar on 0803-331-0175 and Felix on 0803-308-2375. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Preparing for that big day can be somewhat stressful. Which can lead to headaches and pain. So treat headaches and pain fast with Nurofen Express. Nurofen Express liquid capsules, when taken, starts to dissolve in 1 minute, then goes to the source of pain fast, providing quick and effective relief. Nurofen Express works at the source of pain fast.
All right. This is Good Morning Nigeria. As I said earlier on, health is a foundation for human capital development. You need to be in good health to be able to engage in other activities. Don't forget, we have a second, of course, topic for today, which is expectations from AFCON 2019. But first of all, let's discuss health. And we're looking at the inaugural consultative meeting of D8 member countries just held here in Abuja. Let's take this background report from our correspondent, Makut Simon Macham.
D8 is the acronym for Developing 8 Countries, which came together in 1997 to foster economic cooperation between member countries. The countries include Nigeria, Bangladesh, Egypt, Pakistan, Indonesia, Malaysia, Iran, and Turkey. Together, they share a population of about 1 billion people. Having made progress in areas of cooperation that include trade, agriculture, energy, transportation, industry, and technology, they are now shifting attention to health, an area they say has been less highlighted.
The D8 itself, endorsed the need to have the health and social protection program as a stimulant to enhance economic cooperation.
Health provides a great support for the other sectors, especially in economy.
We have a very success story which we can share in this forum.
This inaugural consultation meeting on health and social protection holding in Abuja is an attempt to incorporate health programs into the D8 portfolio. Nigeria is in full support of the initiative, considering the likely lessons and support it can derive from sister countries.
The government of Nigeria looks forward to the outcome of the meeting that will be adopted to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the health system for the better quality of life with assured population development.
When implemented as conceived, the program should enable us reach out to the vulnerable and the less privileged in our communities, especially the elderly, the women, the sick, the disabled, and those in dire need of health care and social protection.
The D8 platform provides member countries not only with an opportunity to build a healthier nation, but also the chance to explore those economic opportunities and unlock the huge potentials of the private sector in health.
Now, at this meeting, members of the D8 countries expect to share ideas of what is working in their health sectors and, of course, what the challenges are. At the end of the day, they hope to entrench best practices so as to ensure that their citizens get the best of health care.
All right, thank you very much there, Makut Shama Macham, for that background. We have with us in the studio to discuss this issue in greater detail, Dr. Ado Mohammed. Dr. Ado Mohammed is the Special Advisor at D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation. He is, of course, the former Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. Dr. Mohammed, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, now the focus of this undertaking now by the D8 countries is on health and social protection. Why the shift from what we all knew in the past to be the primary concern of the D8, namely economic cooperation?
Yes, the shift in focus is due to the fact that in the last 2 decades, since the establishment of D8 itself, because it came into existence in 1997, they venture into agriculture, transportation, trade, and other sectors. 22 years down the line, they realized the fact that if you have to achieve the objective for which the D8 was set up, which is to enhance economic cooperation between member countries and enhance economic prosperity of nations, the 8 countries, you cannot do that without human capital. You can also not do that without trading. And that was why in November 2018, the Ministers of Foreign Affairs in Antalya, Turkey, agreed that they should establish the Health and Social Protection Program for D8. Because let's also don't forget the fact that health is a very powerful stimulant when it comes to economic growth. There cannot be economic growth without health. You need a healthy nation because health is wealth. And we at D8 recognize that. So the shift now is to broaden the scope of mandates of D8 to also include health. So we've identified some pillars, some areas that we want to work on, but we also wanted to make it different from other intervention because a number of organizations, blocks like BRICS, like G8, they all have their own health programs. But for us, we believe that health cannot be in isolation without looking at wealth creation. So And that is why we have health and social protection, because there is a correlation between disease and poverty. And there is a correlation between disease and hunger. So we now, coupled health and social protection so that we enhance prosperity. As you enhance prosperity of your citizens, the tendency is that it's not likely they fall ill. Even when they fall ill, they have the financial wherewithal to be able to take care of their health, particularly in this house setting where you have huge out-of-pocket expenditure, But, in the course of our discussion, we were also trying to address that, because we're also working on innovative financing for sustainable funding of health sector within the 8 countries.
Okay, Dr. I'd like for you to tell us, let's evaluate the value that this organization, the D8 member countries, have brought to bear in the previous areas of cooperation, in agriculture, in trade, in power, in energy, and all that, for member countries' plans. Can you give us a sense of what value, in terms of value addition, impact?
Yes, I know that in the last 22 years, thereabouts, the sectors in the 8 countries, agriculture, transportation, have worked very closely with the Secretariat in terms of making it easy, to facilitate most of the international transactions and charters that has to do with these sectors. But for now, the shift and focus is on health sector.
Yeah, I asked that question because it will give us a sense, because if we've had, value, if the corporation has added a lot of value, then we'll begin to look ahead to, the in this initiative of, cooperating health and social programs,
Yeah, for these sectors, so far the return on investment is to the tune of about $100 billion within the 8 countries. But we believe that that is not enough. Considering that you have a population of 1.2 billion people, you have a population that constitutes 16% of the world population. To $100 billion is inadequate when it comes to return on investment. And we realize the fact that the missing link is the human capital, and that is why we're focusing on health. Because we believe that with health program being entrenched within the sectors, within the mandate of D8, first we'll be able to shift our people out of poverty through social protection. We'll also be able to improve our health systems, and then we'll also be able to shift from being an AIDS-dependent nation to one that trades in health sector, and then and the other one that we have multilateral cooperation within those countries. So that is the narrative we want to.
All right, Dr. Ado Mohammed, tell us something. What are the commonalities amongst the D8 countries? Are they just low income or low and medium?
You have a mixed bag. They are developing countries, and it's in the spirit of South-South cooperation. So the commonalities, they are developing countries. They have different, architecture when it comes to their health system. But one thing that is unique to them is that they are developing countries, and they want to enhance the South-South cooperation. There are also countries that are interested in doing trading together. So those are the motivating factors for the union.
Yeah, still on the commonalities. I mean, you reduce it now to health and social protection. What do we know about ourselves, and what do we know about the other 7 members of the D8 countries? And going forward, what is the target? Is it to boost medical tourism? Or where are we and where are the others? So that in terms of seeking cooperation or collaboration, what is there to learn? What is there to take away from one another?
As I said, the countries have different architecture when it comes to their health system. Some are doing extremely very well.
For example?
For example, Turkey, we're talking of universal health coverage. Turkey have been able to attain universal coverage of 99%. Nigeria has universal health coverage of about 5%. Now, it's an opportunity for us to share best practices and then for knowledge sharing. When it comes to innovation, Turkey has done so much in terms of medical products. They have well-established hospitals. Malaysia also has well-established hospitals. Bangladesh are doing very well with regard to health products and pharmaceutical. You know, we want to see how we can, share best practices, because every country has its own unique assets. For us in Nigeria, I mean, we are doing very well with regard to human resources, even though, we have the midwife service scheme, which was a model, health intervention program, a human resource for health intervention program. And they are interested in knowing how we did that. So it provided a basis, a forum in which you share best practices, and then also for knowledge sharing, and then also to see how we can exchange information with regard to innovations. Like in the course of our discussion with the Turkish team delegation, they said to us, we have huge investment in pharmaceutical. We want to come and invest in Nigeria. We want to also establish first-class hospitals in Nigeria so that we discourage your people from going out on medical tourism. The advantage of that is that we're going to conserve our scarce foreign exchange. We're also going to create jobs for our youths. And we are also going to increase our foreign direct investment, FDI. So it comes with a lot of benefits. So we want to change the narrative of health being a burden, being an economic lag, to that of health being an investment.
Okay, Dr. Do, I did a random check on the GDP standing of most of the D8 member countries, and I discovered that they are between $200 and $500 billion. Of course, we know Nigeria has a rebased GDP of about $500 billion. And again, some of those countries' budget allocation, have hit about 10%, while Nigeria is still doing
5%.
Yes, less than 5%. Yeah. Our life expectancy is 54, 55, and we have people like Turkey doing 75. 78. So what is it that we are learning from these countries about health financing?
Yes, one of the major objectives for establishing the D-Health and Social Protection Program is to see how we can develop innovative, sustainable funding for the health sector. Because we need to, let's be honest with ourselves, government alone cannot provide funding for health sector 100%. All over the world, it's not only government. You also need to identify, mobilize resources domestically to complement what government offers. So like Malaysia, like Indonesia, they have very reputable private sector that help in mobilizing resources. So part of the outcome of this meeting is that we are going to develop a business case, an investment portfolio on how we can mobilize resources using non-traditional sources, because we don't want to depend on donors that are already fatigued. So we have to think out of the box to identify non-traditional donors, and they are all over. You have crowdfunding, in which you can raise funding from travelers on airlines. You can raise funding from airports, donation boxes. These countries have agreed that we're also discussing on the possibility of using the airlines to get funding to complement domestically raised funding. Secondly, we're also exploring the possibility of, we have started discussing with Jais Bank already on mobilizing on Zakat funding. Zakat is huge, and that can complement funding of the health sector.
So how do you track implementation? When you get this funding, how do you track? Because that is where you have a snag. Sometimes you have this funding, but implementation and judicious utilization.
We are looking at efficiency, and when I say efficiency, we have to make sure that for every funding that we mobilize, there's efficient utilization. There must be good value for money and good return on investment. So you do more with less. And we intend to set up a trust fund with very credible and reputable members from all the 8 countries that will superintend over utilization of mobilized funds. But let me also state that we are developing a very robust performance-based system that will track each and every program based on expected outcome, and also track the resources that will be utilized with those programs.
Dr. Ado, well, this meeting that took place was the inaugural consultative gathering of the D8 with specific focus on health and social protection or social inclusion. What is each member's responsibility now after the initial consultative meeting with regard to getting in the stakeholders to have a buy-in and then cascade the ideas down? Because you need to deal with investment. You also need to deal with the various aspects that relate to health and social inclusion.
As an outcome of the meeting, yesterday all the member countries agreed that they affirm their commitment to the establishment of the D8 Health and Social Protection Program. Let's not forget the fact that the political leaders in Antalya, foreign affairs ministers, endorsed the initiative. So what the technocrats did yesterday was to reaffirm their commitment towards that, and to also endorse the 5 pillars that were conceived for the program. 5 pillars in terms of broadening essential services. So we're looking at supporting member countries with essential services, such as nutrition, immunization, and then maternal and child health, issues. We're also looking at. They also supported the 2nd pillar, which is preventing non-communicable diseases, and then the 3rd pillar has to do with health governance, and quality of care. And the 4th is about social protection through conditional cash transfer, social safety nets, and last but not least, which is very important, is about the health value chain, in which we want to encourage trading between member countries. So they applauded it and then endorsed those pillars, and they are going back to their countries to see how they will align their national priorities along the line of the D8 Health and Social Protection Program.
Who attended the meeting from Nigeria?
The Permanent Secretary, Federal Minister of Health, led the Nigerian delegation.
You have a sense of who else was there. I'm asking this question on the basis of
National Health Insurance Scheme.
On the basis of what our national experience has been. With primary health care, for instance. Federal and state governments were supposed to have their coordinate responsibilities, and we have seen what has played out. Several other issues relating to our healthcare system on account of the federal system that we operate, and you find that cascading it to the subnational level is always a big challenge. How might that be overcome? You have a sense of it?
The Nigerian delegation was led by the Permanent Secretary, Federal Minister of Health, but and he has a representation. So he was supported by National Health Insurance Scheme, and some delegates from National Primary Development Agency were also in attendance. But we are exploring. We were discussing with the Permanent Secretary, Federal Minister of Health, that it's important that we involve the Governors Forum, and based on our experience with polio eradication. We are also going to go beyond the formal system to involve traditional institutions. We have a Northern Traditional Leaders Committee and the Southern Traditional Leaders Committee. So we're also going to involve them. And let's also not forget the fact that there's a very big platform now, which is the local governments NOLGE, National Union of Local Government Employees. NOLGE,
so that's a trade union.
No, not NOLGE. The platform that has all the local government chairmen,
Okay, Algon.
Association of Local Governments.
Algon.
Yes.
So we also will be involving Algon. For us, as secretariats, we are not going to be involved in implementation. We only we coordinate programs. Countries will implement their program. We will provide support to countries. We will provide funding to countries. We will only coordinate. We will track performance. And then we will make sure that we use evidence to drive program. So that is why we are going to have a very robust data system in place.
Dr. Ado Mohammed, Special Advisor, D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation, former Executive Director, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. I would like to thank you very much for coming to share the outcome of the consultative meeting with us. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Coming up next, expectations of Nigerians from the AFCON 2019. Stay with us.
One Football Confederation, 24 teams, 6 stadiums, 4 cities, 504 African stars, 1 trophy. The Africa Cup of Nations Egypt 2019 comes alive from June 21 with the showpiece final on July 19, 2019. Watch the 52 matches of the tournament live on Africa's biggest and largest television network, NTA, in partnership with Hotsports. Be part of the biggest soccer fiesta in the African continent as the Super Eagles go on a bold mission to clinch the prestigious title for the 4th time to the excitement of millions of fans across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Nigeria's premier sports production and marketing group, Hotsports, partners with the biggest, the largest, and the #1 television network in Africa, the NTA, to give Nigerians a memorable viewing experience. Boost fan support for the Super Eagles to glory in Egypt. For inquiries, please contact Abubakar on 0803-331-0175 and Felix on 0803-308-2375. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Why don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie, buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. Really? And to make Nigeria great again. That is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, let's talk football now. And all is set for the AFCON 2019. Host country Egypt will be taking on Zimbabwe in the opening match. Let's listen to Abdul Malik Adio's background to set the tone for our conversation.
One trophy, 24 teams, and 6 stadiums. This is African football at its peak. Ranked 3rd in world football competition in terms of its increasing television audience after the FIFA World Cup and the European Nations Cup. For many, the principal charm of the African Cup of Nations is in its unpredictability. For the first time in history, 24 teams will feature in this year's edition of the 32nd African Cup of Nations holding in Egypt. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, also moved the competition from February to June to conform to the timing of what happens in football globally. Experts say this might have an adverse effect on the star players at the European clubs due to fatigue.
Excellent strike, Siani. It's his trademark. Set up by Mukanju, and Siani with the equaliser.
2 years ago, Cameroon went into the competition with one of its weakest looking squad in living memory and came out of it as champions. This year, 3 other countries are being treated as the heavy hitters: Egypt, Senegal, and Morocco. Sports pundits say, though Nigeria did not qualify for the last 2 AFCON tournaments, but the last time they did, they won the competition. Experts say the draw has been kind to Nigeria, who face Guinea and AFCON debutants Madagascar and Burundi in the group stage. With the host nation and most successful team of the competition, Egypt, playing against Zimbabwe and eyeing their 8th cup, the question is, who will emerge the champion? Will our boys show good form and claim their 4th title? These are questions yearning for answers on Good Morning Nigeria.
All right, joining us in the studios now to discuss the kickoff of the AFCON 2019, let's welcome once again Abdulrahman Ibn Muhammad. As former General Manager, NTA Sports at NTA International, of course, is a sports analyst. Abdulrahman, delighted to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria again.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. It's good to be here once again. Good morning, Nigeria.
Also, this time you're not commenting, you're not running comments.
Also here with us in the studios, we'd like to welcome architect Jacob Oyekale. Oyekale is also called JJ. So JJ Jacob Oyekale. I didn't want to call him JJ first so that you would not think that we're having the legendary JJ Austin Okocha in the studios. But of course, Jacob Oyekale is this renowned sports analyst and has been our guest on Good Morning Nigeria in the past. Delighted to have you with us in the studios.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, and joining us is the head coach of the Future Eagles under-16, and his name is Usman Haruna Ilerika. I was going to say Haruna Ilerika, welcome, so that the other viewers don't get confused, as to the Haruna Ilerika, who was a great soccer star in the 70s before he retired. He's passed on now, but it's not related to him. But we have here with us Usman Haruna Ilerika. Pleasure to have you with us on the studio.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, so AFCON 2019 kicks off in a matter of hours. What is the expectation? What do we foresee?
Well, from the point of view of Nigerians, let me look at it from 2 sides of the coin. Let's talk about NTA and the Cup of Nations. After a lull for a long time, Nigerians did not have the luxury, as it were, not luxury as such, the right, as it were, to watch these matches on free-to-air TV. Because of exorbitant pricing of the rights of such competitions and the fact that it's always been very difficult to come up with the huge monies that are being asked. And so Nigerians over the last 4 or 5 editions really have had to make do. Those with the wherewithal have had to make do with watching on cable TV. But this time around, the NTA management thought that, well, NTA in the past had been identified with bringing such events, global sporting events, not only AFCON, All Africa Games, boxing matches, great boxing matches, the Olympics and the World Cup to the living rooms of Nigerians. NTA's management now wants to bring that back, but in partnership with reputable marketers. So we're out into the market, went into the market to source for the funds. The DG was in Lagos perhaps 2-3 days back. He has been visiting 1 or 2 organizations, and we hear the monies that are being paid for this particular edition is about 1.8 million euros. Translated, that's just under a billion naira. That's how expensive it is. And Nigerians will remember that it was only in 2013 when the Eagles, led by late Stephen Keshi, went to South Africa and got to the final, that the federal government gave a fiat. The then government ordered that the final match must be gotten and put on FTA. And that's what the Ministry of Information and the NTA did to bring it to Nigerians. I'm giving this background so that people would know what the expectations are. NTA will bring this to the living rooms and sitting rooms of Nigerians.
Okay, since you have started along this side, sorry to interrupt you, I'd like you to also take along with it, because I also understand that the partnership extends to Alibaba. Is that still part of their...
Yes, the idea, the concept between those of us who run sports in NTA and the marketing firm that has been saddled with the responsibility of marketing this particular event around is, we want to make it as exciting as possible. When we mention Alibaba, people will think that we're about to turn it into a comedy. No, that's not the idea. The idea is that there are some comedians that are very well acquainted with the facts of world football. We want to give it a new lease of life. We're not going to bring every Tom, Dick, and Harry that is a comedian on the show. No, but we want to just, let Nigerians have another side of it. So yes, there will be comedians that have passed the test of making sure to us that they are knowledgeable in football matters, global football matters, and especially continental football matters like we are facing now. They will be part of those in the studio, analyzing and giving it a sunny side, as it were. But it's really sports business, and that's the way it's going to be. So that is the side I'm looking at it. So the expectations, Kingsley, back to your question, is that Nigerians should be rest assured. Tests have been run, and we're confident that the whole issue, Nigerians will be the ones being very happy, sitting down at home, relax. Those who don't have the money to go on cable, NTA is fulfilling its role of being a public broadcaster, even though we are partially commercialized, and that is why we've got to go into the market. So I'd like to leave it at that.
Okay, Abdulrahman, thank you very much. Let's bring in now Jacob Oyekale, with sports analyst. In terms of expectations, what is it that Africa will be putting on? Bear in mind that CONCACAF is running already during the summer break.
Yeah. Talking about expectation, I think I should quickly take us to the initial point. In 1957, when the median edition of the African Nations Cup kicked off, we have 4 countries who are to participate, but because of apartheid, South Africa were excluded, so leaving 3, the host country, which is Sudan, Egypt, and Ethiopia. Egypt eventually won the Nations Cup, as at then a couple of, many African countries were yet to gain independence. And over time, Africa has really developed its game. And before now, the games have been held between January, February. The exceptional case was the one held in April. That was in 1994. That was just the exception. But mostly it has been held between January and February. That is because of the weather of Africa, which is different to that of Europe. But Africa have been forced to harmonize with the European calendar by hosting it in the summer. This is the median edition in the summer. Now, the expectation, I will start with that of Nigeria before I go to Africa. Now, after the first and a couple of the first, second, third edition, Nigeria used to be a dark horse. As a matter of fact, before 1973 that we had our national flag, we were known as the Red Devils of Nigeria. But after the green, white, green, we became the Green Eagles. And our first significant performance in football was in 1973, the All-African Games, where Nigeria hosted and won. And by 1976, when we went to Morocco, Nigeria came third. It was a league format. Then, in 1978...
JJ, could you just rewind a little bit? 1973, yes, Nigeria won the gold medal All Africa Games. The 2 goals were scored by the policeman Sonny Oyarekwa. In 1976, it was actually held in Ethiopia.
Yes.
And we came third.
Yes.
Third.
Third.
Yes.
In 1978 again, we were third.
That was in Ghana.
In Ghana, we were third again. Now, in 1980, that was the peak when we hosted in Lagos and we won. And from then on, the expectation of Nigeria is win, win, and win. Unfortunately, in 1982 in Libya, we couldn't go beyond the first round. And for the first time, we had a Nigerian coach, Chief Onigbede, that took us to 1984. And he got to the final, losing to the more experienced Cameroonian because he was so adventurous when he took his team of young players because of the performance in 1982. Now, after then, it has been Nigeria must end up on the medals table, except what happened in Ghana again in 2008 when we fall short of the medal. So the expectation has been Nigeria must get to at least the semi-final, and that has been the benchmark of any Nigerian team going to the Nations Cup, regardless of anybody taking Nigeria to the Nations Cup. Now, in 2012, the story changed. We couldn't qualify, and that was because I think the communication gap in the NFF was really a problem. We were leading a match that would have qualified us for the Nations Cup. But I don't know the information given to the players. The player was so anxious to score more goals. At the end of the day, they left their back exposed and they conceded the goal that ultimately nailed them from going to the Nations Cup. 2013, after we tried to switch our own calendar to the odd years again, we went to the Nations Cup with Coach Stephen Keshi, the first Nigeria to win as a coach and as a player. We won, and after then again, it was hibernating. We couldn't qualify for 2015 and 2017. Now, after missing the Nations Cup, 2 good editions, what should be the expectation of Nigeria? It's just like that proverbial ram that has gone on reverse. When coming back, it comes with full strength. What Nigeria expects now is nothing but a very good performance. And a good performance for now, I should be objective, is getting to the semi-finals. I wouldn't say they must win the cup, but getting to the semi-finals. Then the expectation about Africa over the last couple of years.
What we'll do, Claire, let's pause him there.
Yes, because
charity begins at home. We said expectations, you broadened it to Nigeria and Africa. We'll come back to the African leg in terms of the expectations. Perhaps Usman Haruna Ilerika, Claire might have a question for him.
Yes, Usman, he has given us a hint of what he believes should be the expectations of Nigerians. But I also would like you, in giving your own view, just oppose it with what the coach, when he was speaking to one of the foreign media, sports program, he said, look, I'm not too, my ideology is not winning this match, because of the bundle of players that I have. So is it downplaying on our chances of getting to the finals?
Yes. Let me first of all make myself as an example. When we were leaving for Japan about 15 days ago, people were asking me, what is the expectation in relation to the team that is going for an invitational tournament? As a coach, that you are going to the war, the boys are very green. I told them on air that I am only going there to expose the boys. Because you don't, even as a coach, you are sure that you are going with a team, but you are not very sure of their performance because of a lot of factors that can affect them. But in relation to the Super Eagles coach now, it's a different scenario entirely. Scenario is different in the sense that we were in Russia last year at St. Petersburg, which all of us saw that, okay, we had a very good team, and presently we have been able to improve on the quality of players in the team with 1 or 2 inclusion. Now, Nigerian expectation is so high. The coach actually wants, no coach will just want to say, I want to win the AFCON. You put unnecessary pressure on yourself, on the players, and on the entire crew. And that kind of pressure takes one of 2 things in form of distraction from the team. So, you downplay your pedigree so that opponent will look at it, okay, everybody knows Nigeria is not a minor. Everybody wants to play Nigeria. No, Nigeria is the big fish to win. So even if we are downplaying it, nobody will downplay it with us. Any team that defeats Nigeria in Africa, even let it be Egypt, who has won it 8 times.
7.
Oh, sorry, 7th time. People will still say, oh, Nigeria is out. It's a very big news to the world that Egypt beats Nigeria out. So I know Roy has been working assiduously to make sure that the teams get better, and if in his inner mind, he doesn't have any reason not to tell Nigerians that he wants to win AFCON. We went to the World Cup, even though we didn't get out of the group stage. We came, but all of us that knew that we did our little best. And on coming home, we have been playing series of games. The last game was against Zimbabwe here. Even though we didn't win, we knew quite well that, yes, the boys were on top of their game. And back to AFCON now. We need to go there and win. If a country can win 7 times, we too, the only way we can catch up is to continuously improve on our performances by winning and continuous winning. So the team now is as good as winning AFCON if everything put in place worked for them. The Federation too has taken it upon themselves to see that AFCON, because Super Eagles is our brand, and the only brand that is sellable is that Super Eagle, and they have given them total attention. So nobody wants to hear any excuse. We are saying semi-final. Yes, semi-final is very good, but we know that, yes, with the quality of players we have, I want to believe that we can play in the final. Okay, I'm very, very optimistic.
Let me still stay with you because you're a coach. We have 2 new entrants, I'm told, Burundi and Madagascar.
That is in our group.
In our group, in Group B. So with this, our only challenger is Guinea. I know Guinea has always been our
thorn in our flesh.
Yeah, so
the
first group, the first match,
against
yes, this thing. Will it be a walkover? Would Nigeria just get a seamless?
There's no minor again in world football, but despite that, it's going to be a very big news to the whole world to hear that Burundi defeats Nigeria in a game. And with the quality of players we have, even if it remains 5 minutes, there are some of them that doesn't need the instruction of a coach to turn the table around. I'm optimistic that we are going to get an outright win against Burundi. They have limitations. No matter how big or no matter how you are as a team to challenge a big team, there's a place you get to, you get stuck. And that is where you lose what is called creativity in terms of what the opponent may be taking to you. We have players that can take a lot of things to their half and they will not be able to cope. So I am not in doubt of our ability in terms of getting over the group stage easily.
All right, Usman, thank you very much. Let's bring in again Abdulrahman. Abdulrahman, we are already now getting into the tables. I mean, Nigeria is a seeded team, as it were, and so the expectations will be, the Super Eagles should overcome all other oppositions and then qualify from the group stages. But is this likely to be a tea party?
Well, like Ilerika just stated, there is no longer any minor in African and I dare say world football. Even the Moldovans of this world now try to create some stir over there in Europe. But looking at the Super Eagles in Group B, yes, they are the seeded team, and that easily makes them the star attraction. And like Ilerika has stated again, it is going to be big news anywhere, any day, for any country in Africa to beat Nigeria. Because already the scenario is such that we are big in the eyes of Africa, and I should also say the world. But realistically, you become overconfident to your own peril. It is expected. Yes, it is expected. The Super Eagles should, win their group and advance. When they advance, and if they do advance, what happens next is left for, we can only conjecture. But looking at it, Guinea, which has been a thorn in our flesh right from 1980, one remembers the duels that the Super Eagles, the then Green Eagles, had with them, with Henry Nwosu at one point in time, saving us in a World Cup qualifier in Lagos. Yes, the Guineans, they have been kind of also in the doldrums, like we have been. But Madagascar and Burundi are not going in for a tea party. Realistically, they should be there to learn the ropes, being their first outing. But to me, and I want to quote Oyekale here, we have been in the doldrums for 2 years. We did for 2 editions. We did not qualify. In fact, part of the problems we've been facing while acquiring these rights and trying to sell the rights is that the advertisers don't have an immediate picture of what the Super Eagles are capable of doing, because we missed out on 2 occasions. The only reference is our players, who is playing where, and what is the pedigree of that player playing where. And I will be honest with you, I think we're coming a little bit short compared to some of our other countries. We lost, we didn't lose, we drew with Zimbabwe, but a lot of fans would think that we should have strolled over the Zimbabweans when we played them in Asaba. And of course,
that was a rain-soaked match.
Rain-soaked match, so it's difficult to really come to grips. But we did play Senegal, current #1 team ranked in Africa, in our last friendly, and we lost. Maybe you could say that is going according to the rankings, going according to form. But I want to tell you that that result should not deceive anybody. If we look back at history, before our team went, our under-23 team, I think, went and won the Olympics gold medal in Atlanta in 1996. They played a friendly, I think, against Benin Republic. Is it Togo?
Togo.
And we lost scandalously by 5-1. And a lot of people are saying, But, sometimes coaches don't put all their best eggs in this kind of thing. Maybe it's a device to ward off the eyes of keen rivals and keen competitors. But I do think, in the final analysis, that we've got a couple of players that can dictate the pace and change the pace of a game without even the coach needing to pass instructions. We should go through Group B without dropping much sweat.
All right, you're watching late. I beg your pardon. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll quickly take a short break. When we come back, we'll, of course, go into more details. Don't go away.
One Football Confederation, 24 teams, 6 stadiums, 4 cities, 504 African stars, 1 trophy. The Africa Cup of Nations Egypt 2019 comes alive from June 21 with the showpiece final on July 19, 2019. Watch the 52 matches of the tournament live on Africa's biggest and largest television network, NTA, in partnership with Hotsports. Be part of the biggest soccer fiesta in the African continent as the Super Eagles go on a bold mission to clinch the prestigious title for the 4th time, to the excitement of millions of fans across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Nigeria's premier sports production and marketing group, Hotsports, partners with the biggest, the largest, and the #1 television network in Africa, the NTA, to give Nigerians a memorable viewing experience. Boost fan support for the Super Eagles to glory in Egypt. For inquiries, please contact Abubakar on 0803-331-0175 and Felix on 0803-308-2375. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Just before we went on the short break, we got another guest to join us. While we were on the short break, rather, we had another guest joining us. It's Bunmi Haruna. So we have two Harunas with us in the studios this morning, Usman Haruna Ilerica, and this is Bunmi Haruna.
Both of them are coaches.
Yes, the Bunmi Haruna, who is just joined us, is assistant coach of the Under-17 Golden Eaglets, also a sports analyst. Pleasure to have you with us.
My pleasure.
On Good Morning Nigeria. Tell us something. We're talking about expectations from AFCON that begins today.
Expectations are always high in Nigeria because we've played our way to become one of the top teams in Africa. So when we go to such competitions, for Nigerians, it's all about winning. You know, whether it's under 17, under 20, you know, Nigerians believe they can do anything. And for example, the AFCON, we are the third best team in Africa according to FIFA rankings. So Nigerians will expect you to go there and win. But at a competition, if you want to win, a lot of things, you know, will be considered. And these things are very key to winning competitions. You know, the psyche of the players, are they well taken care of? You know, bit by bit, do they peak at the beginning or they peak at the right time? You might have the best players. You saw at the last World Cup, the Germans were defending champions, but they were knocked out in the first round. So your team will need to peak at the best time. If we wumble, then win against Burundi, don't worry, it's still early. If we find it very hard to beat Madagascar, but eventually we get the point, it's still nice. I want the Super Eagles to peak at the right time. Semi-finals, quarter-finals, when you really need to have your full strength. All in all, they are one of the top teams in Africa. But my issue is this. We've been out of the Nations Cup for 2 editions, and experience is very vital. Right now, we have just about 3 of those players that won in 2013 still in the team. The experience of this series is very vital, but I don't think it's enough. Perhaps if we had participated in the last 2, then we would have been like serious favorite, you know, to win this. Then players like Wilfred Ndidi would have had experience, you know, at the Nations Cup. But right now, these guys are making their debut at the Nations Cup. For players, I listened to Mikel, the captain of the team, recently, when he said a lot of the players are making their debut at the Nations Cup. And, you know, experience is very vital. Sometimes, you know, the players will just be happy to, okay, I'm just happy I want to play. But there are some that have been there before that know that it's not enough for me to just be happy to be there. I want to win. So these are the mentalities we need to take into cognizance while we're going there. But for average Nigeria, I have no issue with them for wanting to win. Yes, we are a top team in Africa, but it takes just wanting to win for us to win. If we get to the semi-finals, I would say we are okay.
What has experience got to do with it? Well, we are the biggest extravaganza at the World Cup last year. That is immaterial?
It's not immaterial, obviously. We just like every other country, we crashed out in the first round. That's to tell you all African teams are almost at the same you know, level. Playing at the World Cup is a huge experience, and you know the performance of I was reading a write-up yesterday where they said Ahmed Musa is the most dangerous player we have in the Nigerian national team. I think that has to do with his performance at the World Cup. You understand? So that's important. When you play against countries, they look at, you know, the players that are dangerous. You know, they count Ahmed Musa, John Obi Mikel. He has experience. So playing at the World Cup, it also adds to it. So I think it also helps our ranking. That's why we are ranked, you know, one of the 3 best teams in Africa. So this experience, you know, it counts. And also John Obi Mikel, who has won before and has also won several international competitions, the Champions League, the UEFA Europa League. So it comes with a lot of advantages having players like this.
Okay, I know that Nigeria, we have a knack of playing ourselves into very dangerous positions before we qualify, you know, and it gives a lot of people, you know, you are worried and concerned, and there's this anxiety and all that. What attitude do you think Nigerians should, you know, have in this first match tomorrow?
Attitude? You mean the players or
Yeah,
Nigerians?
the
Players.
yes.
Well, they are very good players. They play for top clubs. For example, Chukwueze is likely to make his debut at this Nations Cup. He was one of the one of the best young players in the Spanish La Liga. And Spanish La Liga is one of the top 3 leagues around the world. So we have quality players. Victor Osimhen was the highest goal scorer at the 2015 Under-17 World Cup, and he's been able to work his way back up there in Europe and now plays in Belgium. Charleroi, he was one of the top scorers out there. So we have a lot of very good players. So, you know, for the players, I think going into that first game, they need to be at their best. Don't underrate any team. And it has to do with everything, not just the players.
Any goal margin?
Goal margin? You know, before I talk about goal margin, it has to do with the whole environment of the team. Are they assured that when they play, they win? Are they well motivated? These are all issues. Because when you have the Pelés, you have the Maradonas, and they are not well motivated, you won't get results.
But
so,
we've gone beyond the level of motivation now. Yes. Tomorrow is our first match.
Well, motivation is a continuing, continuing psychological.
Let me just say, the coach probably is talking out of experience. But I would imagine the present NFF setup that we do have, Amaju Pinnick, NFF president, is the number 2 man in CAF. So he has got bags of experience, and they should have put in place motivational requirements for the team. If you do this and this, this is assured. If you do this and this, this is assured. Because in the past, like someone, you tried to say that Nigerians, our teams have a knack for playing themselves into difficult situations. Perhaps even our administrators. We've had embarrassing situations where players would, you know, maybe down tools, as it were, before their rights are given to them. Your team, I understand, were also part of this kind of situation. No, was it the under-20 team? The under-20 team. They refused to leave their hotel because the packages, they were not sure if they got back here. Only 2-3 years back, our girls won a competition. They had to be, you know, pleaded with to come in. They protested. They came in here. I think it took the intervention of the presidency. And I do hope that that intervention from the presidency would have, you know, been the right act, as it were, to those, you know, controlling our football.
Abdul Rahman, so it is clear that from time to time you need intervention from upstairs to get some of these things working, because there are all kinds of governance issues that will arise. And we do hope that that will not impede the performance of the Super Eagles. But back again to JJ Oyekale, we're talking about expectations from Africa and of Africa. Is Africa likely to put on a good show?
Definitely. If you look at the legion of players plying their trade in Europe, definitely Africa is going to give a world a spectacle. And one thing we've not even mentioned since is that this is an expanded edition of the Nations Cup. It is no longer what it used to be. So we have 24 teams now competing. And for the first time, we'll be having a second round before you get to the quarterfinals. Initially, after the first few editions, we have 8 teams competing up till 1992, when we expanded to 12. And after that, we expanded again to 16. Now, this is the first edition we'll be having 24 teams. And having 24 teams where you have African players that have really, you know, plied their trade in Europe and they've really done so well. Liverpool are the current champion of the European Champions League, and they have the complement of Mohamed Salah from Egypt, who is not just a part player in the team, but one of their main players, if not the main player in the team, scoring 22 goals in the Premier League and a couple of goals in the Champions League. Sadio Mane is another key player for Liverpool. He will be playing for Senegal, ranked #1 team in the world.
#1 in Africa.
In Africa, rather, sorry. Then, Kalilou Koulibaly from Senegal, too, is one of the highest rated defender. He's rated at about £85 million now. He is from Senegal, one of the best defenders you can see. Aya's team that performed so marvelously well that endear themselves to the world has a Moroccan that is engineering their midfield and attack, who is really playing so well. So, by and large, if you look at the Spanish La Liga, you have African players there that have really played their trade. There is this man, Thomas of Ghana, playing in Atletico Madrid for Diego Simeone. He has really proved his mettle. In the English Premier League, you have a whole lot of Africans plying their trade there. They command a huge followership. In the Italian Serie A and also in the German Bundesliga, you have a lot of them that have been really doing themselves proud and Africa proud. So because of this pedigree, everybody will be forced to be either glued to their TV set or go there. Scouts will fall on each other to get the signatures of players, especially now that it's now off season, when teams are planning to reinforce their teams. So the showpiece in Egypt again is a spectacle, because in Egypt you have very, very good facilities that can be compared to that of Europe. Their stadia, the hotels, the transportation, and everything is just key.
Okay, JJ, now that you've talked about the ambience and the prestige, I'd like to ask the two coaches. Now, in terms of prestige and followership attraction, I'd like you to situate AFCON, comparatively with other international football tournaments.
Yeah, one thing that you fail to look at first before you make that kind of comparison. You see, the perennial poverty in Africa sometimes affects followership of teams. Take, for instance, if AFCON is not in Egypt, it might not be as exciting as it is going to be in some other African countries because of gate takings. In Europe, irrespective of, for example, if they are playing European Championship, irrespective of the price, you will see the stadium jam-packed. In Africa, sometimes the people demand for free. Even here in Nigeria, people want to watch football because people that are always in the stadium matters first before the followership on the screen, back in our various home. But the AFCON itself has created an inch for itself with enlarged scope. It's getting more better, the awareness is there, and the timing is very important. Excellent. There is no any European competition now. Whether you like it or not, you have to sit down and watch AFCON.
That's right. That's the point I want Abdulrahman to come in again. JJ Oyekale has already given us, some historical background and then some of the new facts. You have 24 teams, so you have many more matches to watch. How gripping is this likely to be as an entertainment spectacle for all those? It's a rainy season here in Nigeria, so you want to be indoors to watch this and then get yourself and the family around the tube.
Well, nothing can be further from the truth. The timing. In fact, when CAF, the Confederation of African Football, was pressurized into changing, Oyekale has told us the competition usually had been held in the early parts of the year, January, February. The latest was in April. It's for 2 or 3 reasons. Number one, he has also listed quite a number of our players that are applying their trades in Europe. That's where they get their bread and butter, and that's where they get training at very high rate. That's where they earn their reputation. That's where they get their pedigree, and they get their pedigree in Europe. It's comparable to world level. So people are, conversant with them. Their performances are etched in people's memory. So people would like to see Salah. People would like to see Mane. People would like to see Wilfred Ndidi. People would like to see Koulibaly. All those that are hitting the news headlines. Okay? So that change, this is the first time it's going to be. And at the same time, CAF thinking that the pressure is now off our players, because previously when it was around the January, February cycle, we were finding it difficult. Countries were finding it difficult
players to be released.
for those top players to be released. anytime they were released, they came in, played, they go back grappling with injuries. Perhaps injuries that might just put them out of their team for some time. And the teams get angry. You take our stars, we pay them big money, and they come back injured. It impedes our performances. And it's also not good for the players because some of them lose their starting places because they go down the pecking order. So it's all for good. Now that it has come to this level, we have harmonized the calendar. You can see that CONCACAF are having their own championship away in Brazil. It is for the same reason. Okay? So, and we have given, with the expansion, we've given more African countries the opportunity to try to come up and be with the rest. Almost the same thing that FIFA had been trying to do. They have been toying with the idea of expanding the World Cup. We all know that Africa only had one representation at the World Cup at some point in time. It became 2, it became 5. Okay?
4 then 5.
4 then 5. Okay, so
You want to remind us of what happened to Zaire in 1974 against Yugoslavia.
I think yes.
No, but Zaire, the point has to be made. Zaire did go there. They had a bad day. They were humiliated by Yugoslavia. But they gave a good account of themselves against Scotland and Brazil. It has to be made very clear. For any team to be beaten by Brazil 3-0 at that point in time, it's no mean achievement.
Yes.
It was a learning curve.
What did Yugoslavia give, former Yugoslavia? How many did they give?
It was 9. Actually, it was 9.
Let me hear from Coach Bumi too. I'd like to hear your own perspective to the value that the expansion in terms of numbers, participating nations, and of course in terms of weather. What value does it add?
Okay, the expansion, I think, in all, adds value in that, the sponsors, we get value for their money because more participation, more fans will be at the Nations Cup, and more people will be interested. It's just like, for example, if Nigeria fails to qualify for the World Cup, Nigerians, the level of interest will be lower. But now, before we used to have 16 teams, now we have 24 teams. So the interest will be more, so more money for CAF, really. But at the danger of something, the standard could fall. Because before, maybe you had countries that could not really make it on that stage, then you have smaller countries getting a chance to come in. The standard might just fall. You understand?
Why are you pessimistic? Why would you?
As a coach, I think he knows what he's talking about. But I just want to counter that by saying that, yes, from the days of Zaire, 74, Africa has, come off. Even some European countries get badly beaten. I think Saudi Arabia was hammered 8-0 by Germany at a World Cup match not too long ago. You see, it's a learning curve. The standard might fall in 1 or 2 matches. Yeah. But when you pitch Senegal against Nigeria or against Egypt or against Cote d'Ivoire,
those will be dream matches.
Those will be dream matches. And they are sure to, keep the audience on their toes. I also just want to add that it is an opportunity for countries that have been, not known. Yeah. Apart from showing themselves, you just might not know where a good talent is going to come from. I want to bring, as an example, whoever thought a Kenyan would become such a big star as Victor Wanyama has? But because he was, scouted, he's one of the leading players in, at least as far as Africa is concerned, playing in the Premiership. There is this young man, Berahino. Sadio Berahino. What African country did he come from? They don't have any, Burundi doesn't have any pedigree in football. But there he is creating waves. So on the flip side, yes, there might be a drop. But on the flip side, there is also the possibility that there could be new discoveries.
That's right. I think, but isn't that, Bumi, I'll come to you. But isn't that, Bumi, isn't that one of the major attractions for a tournament of this nature? And considering also now the expanded nature of the teams participating, 24, that, look, you just find new talents emerging. You watch a match and you say, wow, the scouts will be all out there.
Yes, actually, there are advantages, there are disadvantages. And I must agree that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages in that, okay, there is this chance of an unknown team, creating, shockwaves across, the continent. Very, very huge. But it's also important to warn also that, there could be matches, one or two, that might not live up to the standard. But that doesn't mean that the standard of the whole competition has gone down. You understand? When we have the big games, Egypt playing Tunisia, or probably maybe Madagascar has created some offsets, they now come against a country like...
Not against Nigeria.
Not against Nigeria, obviously.
Let me ask the former general manager NTA Sports now, because yesterday on the DG of NTA was on the news when he visited the partners in Lagos, and he has promised, the NTA has promised, crystal clear, exciting transmission of the tournament. What is driving this?
Well, like I did tell you, NTA is trying to reposition itself. Older viewers will remember, NTA has brought very, very big sporting events to their living rooms. The big boxing matches of the 80s, the big matches of the 80s to 90s. Things got a little bit muddled up in the Nigerian broadcasting sector when the whole arena was opened up. Private broadcasting stations came in. At the point in time that it was only NTA, the government knew that NTA had to provide social service. So the funds were provided for. But when the space was opened and NTA was partially privatized, it came to a situation where broadcasting houses in Nigeria came under the banner of BON. But the contributions coming in, because even if you have only one small radio station or one small TV station, you are entitled to be a BON member. And you are entitled to participate in whatever BON is doing. So it became a problem when NTA, with its over 70 to 90 stations all over the country, had to be put on the same pedestal with one small TV station or one small radio station. And the greater part of the funding and the burden is being carried by NTA when we have been partially commercialized. So those things have to be straightened up. So what the DG has been promising is that we are trying to turn around. We know for sure that we have this responsibility, but we cannot no longer fold our arms and sit down because the bond arrangements doesn't appear to be working.
And
we've got to take the bulls by the horns. Yes.
So we have dedicated channels.
Yes, we have dedicated channels. Okay. We will work on the network. Obviously, we don't want to shut down the network because of football. There are so many other important broadcasting segments. Once the matches involve Nigeria, you can bet it will not only be on the network, it will be on the sports channel.
Sports channel.
But where the network, for one or two reasons, cannot carry any given match, the traffic is going to be driven to the sports channel. Like we promised, all the matches are going to come to Nigerians live.
All right, Abdul Rahman, thank you very much. Oyekale, I said I was going to come to you. Two issues I want you to address very, very quickly. One, for the benefit of our viewers, just explain again the difference between AFCON. This would appear now to be the top drawer competition on the African continent versus the ones played by the so-called home-based players that do not permit of those who ply their trade in the top leagues. That's one. Second aspect, we have seen the intrusion of technology into officiating. Mm-hmm. What should we watch out for in this tournament? Because there have been controversies. You saw what happened to the Super Falcons against France. You know how a referee, analysts would say, mismanaged. One opportunity. That nearly cost us our qualification for the next round.
Okay. Let me start with the first question you asked, the AFCON. Now, initially, when the Nations Cup started, it was just African Cup of Nations and every player could play. But the exodus of players to Europe has seen it that most of the countries that qualify for AFCON are being represented by players from various European leagues, even some from remote leagues. thereby limiting the opportunities of the players playing their trade in their local league in Africa. That occasion for the second tournament now, that it is a competition just for, they call it CHAN now, that's Championship of African Nations. So it is basically for players playing their trade in their local league in the continent. That is that. Then the second question, talking about technology. I think the first thing is that football has gone scientific. And if that is the case, we must try to get ourselves abreast with every happenings. One problem we have had as a nation is that we don't give our players enough information. Sometimes they are ignorant of new rules. In fact, some of these European countries, the moment there is a new rule, they have a FIFA licensed referee that is attached to every team. So we need to get people that will interpret the rules better to the team.
All right, JJ Jacob Oyekale, architect and sports analyst, many thanks to you for being brave. And let me also thank Usman Haruna Ilerika, future Eagles under-16 head coach, and also, of course, a sports analyst. Thank you. Bumi Haruna, journalist and coach, many thanks to you. And finally, Abdulrahman Ibn Mohammed, former general manager, NTA Sports, and of course, sports commentator and NTA International GM. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. All right, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for today and the last for this week. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to be part of it again on Monday when we come back. From all of us here, I'm Kingsley.
I'm Kingsley Osadolo. Do enjoy your weekend. Of course, soccer action begins right from today. You can watch all of the 52 matches on the channels of the Nigerian Television Authority. Have a lovely weekend.
You too.
Entrepreneur. Do you have an existing business or great business idea? Then Africa's Young Entrepreneurs Empowerment Nigeria, ION, is a program for you, where thousands of business owners and entrepreneurs will be empowered with business funding, mentorship, specialized skills training, and equipment. To register for the ION 2019 program, visit www.ion.ng. Fill in your personal and business details, check your email frequently, and follow us on all our social media platforms for regular updates. For more information, visit www.ayen.ng or call 070-0044-4444. ION 2019, showcasing and empowering Nigerian entrepreneurs.
This is the network service of the NTA.